Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a place way up north, Fairbanks, Alaska. Sun barely rises for months, and then, lots of snow. Seems like maybe the last place you'd think of for renewable energy breakthroughs.
Yeah, it definitely presents some unique challenges.
But what if those challenges, the extreme sun variations, the cold, even the rain, could actually be, like, engineered into a solution?
Exactly. And the sources you shared outline this really compelling idea, hybrid solar rain power systems. It sounds a bit out there, but we're going to dive into how they're combining solar PV with rain-powered piezoelectric systems.
Okay, piezoelectric, we'll get to that. But first, solar in the Arctic. Fairbanks is 64.82 north. That means what, almost 24-hour daylight in summer?
Right, perpetual daylight for a stretch.
But then fewer than 4 hours of sun in deep winter. So, I mean, solar panels might cover, say, 50% of annual electricity needs, but that winter gap seems huge. How do they make it work?
That's the key question, yeah. And the folks at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, UAF, they've done some really smart testing. They found these special panels, bifacial ones.
Bifacial, meaning they collect light on both sides.
Exactly. And if you mount them vertically or tilted pretty steep, like 60 degrees, they can actually capture the light reflecting off the snow, the ground albedo.
Ah, okay. Using the snow itself.
Yep. And get this, that setup outperforms standard south-facing panels by 15, maybe 20% during spring and fall.
15 to 20% more. Wow.
And here's the slightly weird part. Even though overall efficiency drops in the deep cold, maybe up to 30%,
Hmm.
the cold, clear winter days actually let the panels produce 10 to 15% higher voltage. It's a paradox.
So the cold isn't entirely bad for solar output. That's counterintuitive.
A little bit, yeah. Higher voltage even if total energy is less during those short days.
And it sounds like people there are actually adopting this. The sources mentioned a Solarized Fairbanks campaign.
Right. That campaign apparently led to a 200% jump in home solar installs since 2019. People are seeing payback in like 7 to 10 years.
That's pretty good, especially that far north. Okay, so solar makes sense, kind of surprisingly. But you mentioned rain.
Ah, yes, the rain. This tackles that winter darkness problem, or rather complements the solar when it's not super sunny, even if it's just raining.
Rain power in Alaska. I mean,
Yeah.
does it rain that much, and how do you get power from a raindrop? It sounds tiny.
It is tiny per raindrop, but it uses piezoelectric materials. PVDF is a common one. It's a type of plastic film. When a raindrop hits it, the kinetic energy, the impact, gets converted directly into a little bit of electricity.
Huh. Like a tiny generator triggered by impact.
Sort of, yeah. A 2022 study showed a square meter of this PVDF stuff in just moderate rain could generate 2 to 5 volts DC.
Okay, 2 to 5 volts. So not a huge amount per square meter, but it adds up.
Potentially, yeah. And the really smart part is how they're integrating it. These aren't separate systems. They're building hybrid panels.
Hybrid. So the rain collectors are on the solar panels.
Right, integrated around the solar cells, so they're not blocking the sunlight. Little piezoelectric transducers sit between or beside the PV cells.
Okay, that makes sense. You don't want to block the sun.
Yeah.
And this actually boosts efficiency.
Well, a prototype tested somewhere tropical showed an 8% combined uplift. But you asked the right question. What about the cold?
Yeah. Freezing rain, ice. That seems like it would stop these piezoelectric things working pretty quick.
Definitely a hurdle they had to address. System integration is key. They use controllers, like Arduino-based systems, to manage the input from both solar and piezo. And they've got clever cold weather adaptations.
Like what?
Things like tiny built-in self-heating elements to stop ice forming on the piezoelectric films.
Ah, okay. Like a defroster.
Basically, yeah. And a UAF study from 2024 tested nano-coated versions of these films. They kept 85% of their efficiency even after 1,000 freeze-thaw cycles. Pretty robust.
1,000 cycles. Okay. That sounds like a good handle on Alaskan winter.
And there's another neat benefit. The rain actually cleans the solar panels.
Huh? Of course. Free panel washing.
Exactly. Reduces losses from dust and grime by up to 5%. So the rain helps in two ways.
That's brilliant. Turning the weather challenges into actual assets.
Yeah.
So what are the real-world results looking like? Is it making a noticeable difference?
Seems like it. UAF did a trial in 2023 with a 5-kilowatt bifacial array that had these piezoelectric strips added.
Okay.
Over just 3 months, the rainfall generated an extra 120 kilowatt hours. That boosted the total output by 9%.
9% extra just from rain. That's not insignificant at all.
No, it's a decent bump. And anecdotally, there was a Reddit user mentioned the sources. They had a 4-kilowatt hybrid system. said they got about 50 kilowatt-hours just from rain during August and September.
50 kilowatt hours.
Yeah, and for them, it cut their reliance on the grid by 12% during those months.
12%. That's substantial for an individual home.
Yeah.
So what's the bottom line economically? Is it worth the extra cost for the hybrid setup?
Well, according to a 2024 report, the payback period for these hybrid systems is estimated at around 12 years.
Okay, compared to
About 15 years for a solar-only system in that environment, so it shaves off 3 years.
faster payback. That's good.
And apparently, federal tax credits can help cover the extra cost of the piezoelectric bits, which adds maybe 50 cents per watt to the system cost, so the economics seem to be working out.
So there you have it. Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Really pushing the envelope, taking this harsh environment and finding ways to harness not just the sun, but the rain, too. It's a pretty amazing story of innovation.
It really is. It shows how combining technologies that seem, unrelated can lead to some surprising benefits. And it's a great example of local research having potentially global implications.
Definitely makes you think, right?
Yeah.
If they can combine sun and rain power effectively in a place like Fairbanks, what other overlooked resources or clever combinations may be just sitting there in our own backyards waiting to be tapped? Something to chew on.